Okay, guys, we're back in the garage working on my baby, the 2014 F150. Now, if this is the first time watching the channel, first off, you should subscribe because I do content like this all the time. Second off, the last time that I worked on this, I did two things. I installed a relay that allows all of my accessories to turn off when I turn my ignition off. And the second thing that I did was I installed backup lights because, well, I had them and I've always wanted to put them in. And they were just sitting there. And I was like, I should just put these in. So anyway, during that last video, I left a wire in here. I didn't tell you guys what it was for. Now, if you guys had been following along and installed that wire, you could have used it for a bunch of different stuff. Doesn't matter. But what I'm going to use it for is subwoofers. Yeah, I know. I'm old. Why do I need subwoofers? Well, I used to do competition subwoofers. I never really placed that high, but I had very well-tuned sound systems. I was very good at it. I was passionate about it. And that passion never really left. Like, I still love sound systems. It kind of transferred into home audio now. A lot of people who see my sound system, I guess not see, but hear my sound system in my house are always like, whoa, I've heard surround sounds, but I haven't heard a surround sound like that. And honestly, like, I'm not playing around with meters and stuff like that. I'm just going off of sound. I know what I like, and I tune stuff for that. With car audio, it's pretty easy to set up amplifiers because there's only really, well, there are two ways to do it. There's the redneck way, which I don't recommend because you can do a lot of damage to your ears. Ask me how I know. And then there's the meter way, and the meter way is the proper way. So anyway, we're going to get started on this. Now, I already put the subwoofers in the truck. They're just physically placed under the seats in the back seat because I had to build a box for the one side. We're going with two 12s. I'll go over what subwoofers and what amp we're going to be using. I didn't record me making that box because that box is ugly. It don't look good. But, you know, it's functional. And that's all that matters. So, we're going to start. Okay, so there's my coiled up wire. I definitely cut the tape off and definitely didn't just leave it coiled up and unsecured to flop around while I was driving. I would never do that. What do I look like, a redneck? When I ran this wire into the cab, there's a grommet right underneath your ECU. And I showed you in the previous video how to do that. If you need a really good walkthrough, just look through that. The basic is I shoved a knife in it, and then I shoved a fishing rod through it, and then I pulled the wire through. I mean, if you know how to fish a wire, it's pretty simple. I need to remember where I put my flashlight now. Did I leave it in here? You know, I picked all my tools up yesterday. Didn't help a lick. I have no idea where the heck I put them. Definitely wouldn't be on the hood because the hood's not magnetic. Oh no, I forgot to turn it off. This is why you buy flashlights that have rechargeable batteries, guys. They're in my kangaroo pouch. You know, back when I was a kid, there was an actual reason for having these non-chargeable cells. It's because rechargeable batteries, the technology was just so bad that they couldn't hold enough power to be useful. It's not like that anymore. There's no reason for this. I have 4-gauge wire for a subwoofer somewhere in this garage. Now, the astute of you may have noticed it's covered in electrical tape, and I just noticed that one of the bolts is sticking out. That's because the case broke. Do I care? No, this works fine. So we're going to use this. I have never in my life blown one of these fuses, and none of the vehicles that I have ever worked on have caught on fire. So I'm not too worried about it. I also found some wire, speaker wire. That wire that we left last time, because I said we need to run another wire in, we're going to use that to pull this into the car. So we're just going to wrap this all up. Just like I told you last time, but if you're new to the channel, when fishing a wire, wrap your pull wire with wire first. Stick the wire that you're pulling through over top of where you taped, and then tape back down it. And try to make the end of it as aerodynamic as possible. Okay, and we're going to pull that through. And just like that, we're through. And again, fishing wires works much better when you have two people. And we want to leave a good amount of slack for this. Leave your power wire unplugged. Leave that unplugged. Do not connect this. Last thing to be connected. It's a little dark in here, but as you can see, our wires come out of the foil well. We need to get them to the back of the truck. So we're going to start with pulling up this. And if you look, whoops, I'm leaving that in. That was pretty funny. Okay. Now we're just going to tuck these wires down in here. And we just want to run them along this sill. Now you got to watch out, because when you pulled that wire out, there's these little clips that this clips into. I mean, mine doesn't clip into it anymore because the plastic's all busted and broken. But if you're not too careful, your sill plate will not go back in, especially if you're using 4-gauge wire like I am. Where'd I put my knife? Now, in this spot here, if you want this wire 100% hidden so that you're never going to see it, you got to take this pillar piece off and then get it in behind here, which is a giant pain in the butt. I don't care about a little bit of wire showing. Okay, and that wire's ran through. I'll show you the little bit of wire that does show once I'm done with this second wire. So, same thing. Just going to run it in that same channel. This wire, because it's smaller, I'm just going to kind of shove underneath the carpet here. Okay, we're taking a quick sidebar here, guys, because if you remember, or if you watched my video on how to install head units in these trucks, you will remember that I never dropped the RCA cables down because I couldn't find the set. And then, when I was doing the backup camera, I found a set. So, before I get too carried away with running everything to the back and completely forget about this, hey, if the angle looks a little different, I found my kid's hidden stash of moldy garbage. So I just made her clean it up, and I'm not recording my kid. That would be weird. Oh, great. Well, the RCA cables that I left up there vibrated their way down. So they are no longer up here. Okay, I found some RCA plugs, but they're blue and yellow. So that ain't them, I don't think. Unless the subwoofer is blue. It might be. Give me a minute, I'm going back to watch my video on YouTube. So there I was, watching my own YouTube video. The owner's manual was in my center console. Like literally right here. Right there. Stupid. Anyway, blue is for subwoofer. It is much darker blue than that looks like, but I am pretty sure that that is the right one. So, we're just going to not put this top part back together yet until we confirm the subwoofers are working. Hopefully this RCA cable is long enough. Now, my other question is, do I even need that pull wire? Because I want to run this down on the other side. And with this open under here, I might actually just be able to kind of... What did I just find? My radio might not be plugged in, guys. Oops. Screw this, I'm going to use my pull wire. These wires are getting very close to not long enough. I'm just going to zip tie that up underneath the dash so that it does not get pulled out by accident. Here we are, everything's pulled through. Throw all this over there. Now we're going to put the door sill back together. We'll see if mine will go back together. Oh, the plastic piece that holds this in is so flimsy. You know what? Let's just break it off. Whatever. As these trucks get old, those trims start to go back down very nicely. Okay, now we're going to shove all these wires under the seat. Pull the front seat forward so that we have some room. Now I'm running all my wires in between the seat. And let's go over the hardware I'm going to be using. This is a Hyphonics Brutus 1200 watt amp. 1200 watt RMS. I used to run one of these on 2 Alpine Type Rs. Actually, I ran 2 of them at 750 watts each. And that thing was insane. There gets to a point where you have diminishing returns on wattage. And at that wattage, you are well into that point. So to go with these, now I'm not going to be running them anywhere near as high, but this is a 1 ohm stable amplifier, which means that we can run the speakers at 1 ohm. To go with them, I have 2 Hyphonics Brutus dual voice coil shallow mount subwoofers, 12-inch. These sound phenomenal, and they are the only set other than, nope, I've managed to blow an Alpine Type R. I have not managed to blow one of these. So, that should tell you something. I love Hyphonics. I cannot say enough good things about them. I wish that I could work with them as a sponsor, but I don't really have a use for them anymore, other than, you know, my truck's getting subwoofers. I guess I could put some in the BMW, but that thing has a small enough trunk as it is, and I need to be able to get groceries in it. So yeah. If you can find them, the Brutus line from Hyphonics, phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal products. This is a cut-up DS18 box that I turned into a much smaller box. DS18 makes loaded subwoofers. The boxes are fine. The subwoofers are trash. I've blown up like 3 of them, then I stopped using them. In fact, I have 2 of the drivers sitting in the front seat of my car that I pulled out of, or the front seat of my truck that I pulled out of these 2 boxes. Now, mind you, I bought these back in like 2016 or something like that, so they may have gotten better, but back then they were not good, and I would not recommend them. And I don't even think you can buy the boxes separate, so unless you want to spend $300 for a crappy subwoofer that's going to blow up just for the box. And actually, these boxes aren't that good either. the wire terminals are screw terminals instead of spring terminals. So nope, don't recommend DS18 at all. Now, you might be asking, why on earth do you have this short little wire for a ground when we had to run the power all the way over here? Well, there's this wonderful thing in cars called chassis common. There's no such thing as a ground on a vehicle, technically. And if you want a full explanation of common versus ground, comment common, and I'll do a video explaining common versus ground. But we need to find the location. I always use the bolts that hold in the seat. So we'll go find, I think this is actually a 19, not a 17. Oh, it might be a 17. Oh, it's an 18. Hey, look, there was an 18 right here. I always find, too, that you have to, like, cut an eye to get to fit on these things. And we want to make sure that this is nice and clean. So, where'd I put my little blower madoodle thing? That's going to be sitting on plastic. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean the paint off of that. We're going to stick the ground on it. Then we're going to really ugga-dugga this down just because we really want that thing to have a good connection. And now we have a negative wire. We have everything that we need. I'm going to redo the end of the negative wire just because it looks horrible. When you're stripping wire that you don't have wire strippers big enough for, use a knife. All you got to do, ring it, so go all the way around it. And then it'll pop right off. Ooh, I got a couple of threads, but that's fine. And then twist it together so that it's one piece. You can tin this as well with solder, but I usually don't. Also, if you don't know how to use a knife and you cut yourself because you're following my instructions, I'm not responsible for you being an idiot. That's not going to fit there. That's no bueno. Well, change of plans. She's going under the passenger seat. Oh, that's such a pain in the butt. I should have double checked that before. Okay, change of plans. It's going under the passenger seat. Check your fitment before you run your wires. I'm going to poke a hole right here. I'm going to grab all the wires that need to go there in one hand full. Also, to make this a little bit easier, just to give it some play, we will pull up this bolt on this seat and we'll use it as our ground afterwards. That one's a 17 mil. So stupid. Nope, it's a 15 mil. Actually, it might be a 14 mil. But 15 isn't slipping on it, so. No wonder it gets stuck. Things like 3 feet long. That was a giant pain in the butt. Because we have tons of extra length for everything else, other than the speaker wire, we're going to face the speaker wires backwards, which means RCA is going to face forwards, which also means that our gain and everything is facing towards the front, which I don't really care. It's fine. It'll work. Now make sure that your black wire goes to ground and your red wire goes to power. I have done that once and blew up an amp. That's why I only have one of these now. Okay, and then just our remote wire. Now most subwoofer amplifiers are monoblock, meaning that they only have one signal output. It's not like a two-way or a 2.1 or a four-way where you need to make sure that you connect your left to left and right to right. That was not the right size Allen key. Here we go. With monoblock amplifiers, the same signal's coming out of each input. And they'll just be noted negative, negative, positive, positive. So you stick a negative in one, stick a positive in the positive in the of the other. And again, make sure to tighten them down good. Okay, seat rolls back and forth on it. Don't be a peasant. Cut your tails off your zip ties. Now make sure that your speaker wire is positive to positive and negative to negative. Otherwise, you will end up with a phase disconnect. Sorry, a phase shift. It'll be 180 degrees. When a wave is supposed to be positive, it'll be negative. When a wave is supposed to be negative, it'll be positive. And it'll sound really weird. Okay. The last step is connecting it to the terminal. Sometimes I take for granted that people know certain things, and I need to stop doing that. Anytime you connect anything to your battery, that means that relay, this wire, anything. Make sure you are connecting it directly to the terminal and not on the other side of the fuses. If you put it on the other side of the fuses and you draw too much power, you're going to have a real bad time because those fuses are hard to find. when you turn the truck on, the lights should come on the amp. Not every amp has lights, but this one does. So we will be able to know. Okay guys, as you can see, this video got a little long. I wasn't expecting it to take this long, but I did show you two different ways that you can run wiring for an amplifier, whether you're going to be running an amplifier in the back of your truck, or if you're going to be running it under your passenger seat. It was kind of annoying that I had to redo it, but I mean, at least I was able to show you how to run two different scenarios, and there are other ways that you can set up your amplifier as well. I mean, if you wanted to haul out a little bit of your center console, you could probably fit a smaller amplifier in there. The world's your oyster. This is just two different ways that you can wire an amplifier. And I mean, both are great. If you can fit your amplifier between your subwoofers, it's a good place to put it. The shorter that you can keep the speaker wire going to your subwoofer, I personally think is the better choice. Just because there is a lot of power going across there. Now, I didn't cover in the beginning how you should choose the gauge of wire that you're using. Typically, you can just go out and buy, 600 watt wiring kits, 1,000 watt wiring kits, yada, yada, yada. However, there is actually a way to calculate it. It's based on the current going through the wire. Now, it all runs on a 12 volt system. So in my case, I'm using a 1500 watt amplifier. Divide that by 12, you're getting 120 amps, which is insane. You should actually probably be running zero gauge for that, but I'm not running it at the full 1500 watts. In this setup, I'm running about 400 watts. So 8 gauge is fine, 4 gauge is a little overkill, but I just want to be able to have that extra room to grow if I decide to turn it up later down the road. I will be posting a video on how to tune your sound system that's going to be coming out next week, as well pairing subwoofers to amplifiers, because there is a lot of information about this, and you don't need to get that in depth with it, but you can't just ignore it. You're going to have resistance ratings for each of your speakers and subwoofers, and you need to pair that to your amplifier, because your amplifier can only run stably at a certain resistance. Mine is 1 ohm stable, meaning that I can run either a 1 ohm subwoofer, or I can wire my subwoofers to be 1 ohm, and that amplifier isn't going to go into overcurrent protection. Cheaper amplifiers, if you're hitting overcurrent protection, the amplifier is just going to shut off. And a lot of the times, that's because you're running too low of resistance for what that amplifier can do. Now, the other thing is, the amount of current that you can push into a subwoofer, the more volume you're going to get out based on the wattage that you're putting into it. So, a lot of people kind of call the resistance of a subwoofer the efficiency rating. There also was a big issue with this setup. It had nothing to do with the way that I set up. If you follow these steps and set your subwoofers up like this, you're going to be fine for the wiring side. But I actually had a broken component that I didn't even know. So I have more video footage of that. That's going to be part of next week's video as well. Anyways, guys, I love y'all. Y'all beautiful. I hope you had a great day. We've been growing like crazy. I've been loving it. You guys are watching the shorts. You're checking them out. I'm getting a good amount of views on the full-length videos even. I mean, a lot of you guys seem to be coming for the automotive content, and yet you're still checking out the reviews for the electronics, and I greatly appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, drop a subscribe. I am trying to grow the channel, and it does help a lot if you subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, comment, like, and we'll see you next week. Okay, bye!